Good afternoon. It's time for another lunchtime chat to inform you that my book, Delivering Hope, is now available in print. It is $18 on Amazon. I plan on ordering quite a few author copies to give away. I would like the word to get out about this book. I'm going to be sending out copies to friends to give to people that they know, and hopefully it will reach a wider audience than my previous books have reached. I really don't want to learn marketing, but it's something that I have to be pushed towards, forced into. I have to do it. I have to learn it. Otherwise, I will never be a successful author. That is just the reality. I mean, miracles can happen. Miracles happen every day, but that doesn't mean that I can rely on miracles happening. The big author fantasy would be to have some really important person read their book and then, tell everybody how amazing it is, and then everybody wants to read it because said amazing author has promoted it for for the author. One of my favorite movies is Gentlemen Broncos, and I like it because it's got a really, really weird sense of humor, which I like, and it has Jennifer Coolidge in it, who is one of the funniest actors ever. I love her. She's great. And also the story and theme, it's about a young sci-fi writer who his life just kind of stinks because he lives with his mom. His dad has passed away and he has no good masculine role models, and he's suffering because of that. But he ends up, victorious in the end because a famous author actually plagiarizes his book and gets caught at it. And because it's already popular because of, the famous author, then this young kid, his book just rockets to, the #1 spot in the science fiction world. It's a great story. I love it. It's so heartwarming. It has good music, has classic rock in it that I like. I listen to mostly Mexican music, but occasionally I listen to other music like classic rock. I think there's a Scorpions song in there. I love the Scorpions. That would definitely be classic rock because they were making music in the 70s. So that means, okay, nobody is coming over here. I just saw some people in the distance. Yeah, most people don't want to be around me when I'm making a video because they don't want to be in my kind of dumb videos that I make. Anyway, that was a big distraction. Yes, so the Scorpions are in that. There is a Scorpion song in there and some other good classic rock songs. I know the Scorpions continued to make music in the 80s, so they aren't just a 70s band. That puts them on my radar because that would have been when I was listening to music. I probably didn't listen to the Scorpions in the 80s. I might have liked a few of their songs, but I'm a little bit younger than that, so it would have been more like Guns N' Roses in my era. That would have been the kind of classic rock that I would have listened to. And it wasn't just would have, I did listen to Guns N' Roses because I liked Guns N' Roses. I liked the sort of, I don't know what you would call it, sort of dramatic, euphoric 80s style heavy metal. It's great. I love to listen to it. Still checking to make sure people aren't coming near my video. How dare they, right? Okay, progress on the second book. Now, my whole goal is to give out the first book to as many people as possible. If you would like a copy of the ebook, please leave me a message with an email address where I can send one. I don't get a lot of comments, and so if you write me a comment, you're special enough to get an ebook, and I will send one to you. I would like to give away as many copies as possible. Of course, I would like you to buy them too, because I put a lot of money into this book, But I want people to read it because I want them to want to read the second book. And I am working on that. I am now out of the planning stage because I get really bored when I plan too much. That is a huge problem. What I like to call my ADD problems, but that's just me making an excuse for not really focusing and then just getting bored. Yeah, it is a mental problem, unfortunately. But I do get bored, and I started writing to alleviate that boredom. I am now 4,000 words, a little over 4,000 words into it. I write 1,000 words a day, 5 days a week, so that shows you how many days I've been in the writing stage. That would be 4 days, and one of those days I just wrote a little extra, so it's a little bit over 4,000, and it's going great so far. I mean, as far as I'm not going to stop and edit, I'm just going to write 1,000 words a day, get it done 5 days a week. That's 5,000 words a week until I have a rough draft, and then I'll panic and think, oh no, I have a huge mess, because that's what happens when you write 1,000 words a day very quickly. Like, say if you spend 45 minutes to an hour writing 1,000 words, yeah, it can be messy, and you don't go back. Sometimes I have to go back to remind myself of details, but sometimes I don't want to, so I'm like, I'll just fix it later. I'll fix it later, which leaves this giant mess. That's what happened with Delivering Hope. But I took a week off of work, and I read the book before that and took a week off of work to finish it out, and it actually wasn't as messy as I thought. Thankfully, my brain can handle it's a little over 100,000 words, so my brain can handle, I think it's 119 or 114,000. I honestly don't remember what the ending was. It's a little bit shorter than the Miniverse, but it's about that length. Anyway, it is, the Miniverse was, when I wrote it, the book of my heart, because it's just crazy, humor and weird, and that's what I like to write. But now Delivering Hope has taken its place in my heart as being the book of my heart. And the second book, I have the same positive feelings towards it. I really like being in the head of my main character. I mean, obviously it's my head. So when people say, wow, you've got that character that down really well, and I think, huh. So my male character is basically the mind of an ADD female. Yeah, I think it's probably, I don't know. I have had people tell me that I'm good at writing characters, and I haven't had any complaints about my male characters in the past. The Miniverse had 2 prominent male characters, so it had 3 perspectives, and 2 of them were men and 1 of them was a female. And I haven't had any complaints as far as that goes, but I think authors, such as, male authors, when they write females, they'll write feminine from their perspective, and it has a slightly masculine edge. Well, it's going to be the same for women. They'll write male characters that will be masculine with a slight feminine edge, because there's nothing to do about that. You can't really... I can't really change my brain. I can't just, this whole like transgender thing where people take, women take testosterone to become men. I mean, are they actually fundamentally altering their brain, or was their brain developed off of female hormones? I mean, yes, females have testosterone, just not as much as men do, so the testosterone changes the structure of the brain. So there's nothing I can do about that, but I can be human. I don't have to be a robot. I can be human, and I know what it's like to be human, and that is how one writes characters that are outside their worldviews, their head and experience and worldviews. It's called being a human and applying human principles to the character. That means that you should be able to write a character of another ethnicity as long as you understand the, like, for example, I would not write a book that takes place in India with an Indian character. I might write an Indian character who lives here in the US if he's been here, or if that person has been here long enough, but I have never been to India and I don't know Indian culture, so I wouldn't write that. I'm not going to write something completely out of my experience, but being human is not out of my experience. I believe that if I am an American and I'm writing an American character, then I can write from any ethnic perspective. I know that will probably enrage some people. They don't like to hear that. Anyway, so the second book is going. La vida se compone de muchos pasitos de fe, paso tras paso, hasta la muerte. I think I really meant until the end of the book, but that kind of feels like death in a way. So there you go. That's what writing is like. It's what everything in life is like. You take step after step until you die, and hopefully you keep producing and doing something intriguing. And that is what it is when I play the accordion. That is how I prevent myself from feeling nihilistic or having those days where, and I still have those days where I'm like, I'll never be a good accordion player. But it's really one step after another. If I'm playing every single day and I'm trying new songs and I'm doing new lessons, and because sometimes I will do lessons even though I would rather just play. I would rather go home, pick up my accordion and just slam out song after song. Sometimes I really need somebody else's guidance just to rein it in a little bit and hopefully challenge myself. That's the way it works. Right now, one of the problems with, and I've said this before, with the norteño accordion is that they play the accordion so fast. So it's one thing to actually, pick out the song, pick out the chords, pick out the notes, and another thing to play it up to speed. And one of the biggest hurdles that I have found is playing it up to speed to the rhythm of the song. One song that I really want to master is Alma Enamorada. Yes, my horrible Spanish accent. There you go. The Chileno Sanchez version of that song. I love that accordion player. If you don't know the story of Chileno Sanchez, go look it up because it's a fascinating story. Dude died young. He was murdered. His murder was never solved. Nobody was arrested. But there are all kinds of theories floating out around there about who killed him. But that's just theorizing and guesswork on people's part, especially the general public when they make these kind of statements. But Chileno Sanchez, it's just the great story. He apparently killed one of his sister's rapists and then fled, and because he was sort of under the radar, he ended up being a coyote, smuggling people across the border. This is, as far as I know, true because I read it on the internet. Anyway, eventually came to the United States, lived in California, and he developed a musical career. He used to interview prisoners and tell their stories in songs, and I think that is fascinating. It's like it really is a story, the singer-songwriter who goes out and actually interviews people that others would not appreciate or like and turn their stories into songs. To me, that's amazing. That's like making yourself a folk singer. How can that not be? It's just an amazing quality that he had, and I love his songs. And like I said, he died young in the 90s because he was murdered, and who knows, just so many crazy stories. Like apparently there was a shootout at one of his concerts, and it was by some crazed drug addict, and then of course he had a gun, so he pulls it out and defends himself, and it's just so many legendary things. But what I really like the best about his music, apart from all of that, is his accordion player. And for a long time I just didn't know who that was until I, did a simple Google search to find out that his accordion player was a guy named Nacho Hernandez, who was an accordion player for Los Amables later on, and actually one of the tutorials that I do on YouTube is El Big Show, and he has an interview with Nacho Hernandez, and it's actually a really good interview. I know most of my audience, or I don't even know who my audience I don't know who that is, but I have 8 subscribers, but more people than that watch my videos, thankfully. I don't know who my audience is, but of course the interview is in Spanish. It's easy enough for me to understand. I've talked about this before about when I was taking college Spanish, and I got to a point where I became fluent in reading because I had to survive, to read these, when you read a 300-page book in Spanish, you can't translate as you go. So I try to do that when I listen to Spanish as well. And I know that I probably run into problems of not understanding some vocabulary. And it's fine because everything is contextual, especially when you're listening. Of course, it could lead me wrong too. I could get the completely wrong idea about something or somebody, but I don't think this interview is easy enough to understand if you are familiar at all with Spanish, and I encourage you to watch it. I will link to it in the description box just because it's great, and I love his accordion playing, and I want to be a good accordion player like that. I want to master that song. I want to be able to play it at speed, at the right with the right rhythm and tempo, because it's got a kind of an interesting rhythm to the way it's played. That is all I have to say today, and I think that I've been going on a little bit long. I probably need to get back to work, and so I will call this video done for the day. If you want a print copy instead of an ebook, go to Amazon, and I will also provide a link to that too. I will provide a link specifically to the print book because, it's available now. Have a great rest of your day.